on our YouTube channel. And Madam Gayatri, please, over to you to start the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaji. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from all over the world. A very warm welcome to you all. You have all joined into one of the best training sessions by one of the best techies of Kuwait, Toastmaster Cajetan. Thank you for accepting to conduct this workshop. Dear Toastmasters, creativity is inherent in all of us. Sometimes we long for an opportunity to express our creative talents. Toastmasters is the ideal platform wherein you can really enhance your creative skills because we do have the role in the XCOM, BPPR. And the PR normally creates these posters, these gorgeous looking things and multi-hued with so many themes and pictures and words. But many of us are not aware of how we can get this done. So there was a discussion that we need to have such a training. We've been having it sporadically. We've been having it at different timings. But this time, I personally wanted to jump in 100%. And we were a number of Toastmasters who wanted this kind of a training. And once Cajetan was approached, he was very kind to say that he would love to do this because a man who can train his wife, Priscilla is going to kill me, a man who can train his wife in creating a beautiful poster for her club, I think hands down, that's done. That's the person we want. Priscilla, wonderful posters. You really come across as so creative. Of course, you have your own personal businesses where you are able to use your skills. That's the best part. Canva is one of the best apps to install. I hope all of you have installed this, but more about all of that from Cajetan. Very warm welcome to everyone. Let the training begin. I'm looking forward to this. I hope all of you have got your laptops ready and your Canva logged in because Cajetan is going to make us all master creators. Over to you, Kaji.
Good morning, ma'am, DTM Gayatri. This event actually started as something that I told ma'am, okay, I will train you, maybe one or two people. And now I see 89 in the in the hall. You have created a monster, ma'am. And it's my pleasure to start this session. Let me introduce myself. Those who have joined us from all over the world, good morning, good afternoon, good night, or whatever it might be in your part of the world. My name is Cajetan Barretto. I'm a Toastmaster and I've been in Toastmasters for 2.5 years now. I'm a member of 5 clubs. I'm a currently Area 21 director. And I believe in the quote, the only constant in life is change. And we are going through a tremendous change in this time. And what better way to upgrade our online skills, our presentation skills, our branding skills. And this is what I'm going to focus on today. But before I start, I would like to set up some ground rules so we understand how this session will go. I would like everyone, of course, to stay muted. I have done that from my side. And if you are in a busy environment, if you are in a calm environment, keep your video on so we can see you. But if you are moving constantly, you are using a mobile and you're walking around, then ideally you should keep your video off. As usual, you must ensure that you don't get so engrossed with my training that you forget what's happening around you. Be aware of your surroundings. Ensure that you are able to exit in a safe manner in case of any emergency. Now, regarding the chat, I have currently disabled chat because I don't want to get disturbed with any flashing and alerts coming all the way. And in fact, I'll even switch off my mobile. But all of you will have questions and I will give you an opportunity to address those questions. There is something called a chat monitor. So whenever you want to send a message, don't send it to me. You can send the chat message privately to Priscilla Dias, who is my better half. And she will be monitoring the chat. She will be compiling the questions and then we will go through it in the order that they were submitted. So chat to chat monitor Priscilla Dias. I would like to acknowledge a few people in the audience, of course, starting with DTM Gayatri, who kickstarted this whole process and got me excited on this branding process of Toastmasters. And in fact, I learned in the last few weeks a lot of things that I want to share with you. I don't know if Tabassum is here. I would like to acknowledge her. She's not yet here, but she also helped me to promote this event, to encourage me. And my friend DTM Noor Muhammad, who advertised and publicized this event in many places. And I see a lot of you all must have probably come because of him. And he's a wonderful guy because it's not about just promoting. He truly believes that we need to share our information with each other. And he always encourages people to learn and to share. So thank you, DTM Noor. And our district director, Wafa, I would like to unmute her because I want to hear from her because she is my hero, or should I say heroine, as far as training is concerned. I have learned a lot from her. So DTM Wafa, if you could just give a brief intro.
Thank you, Kaji. I'm always happy and to see how you are doing the training in a professional way as per the international standards. And that makes me proud of you and all the trainers in the world. That the topic that's been selected is very critical. I'm looking forward. I'm ready with my Canva. I'm looking forward to start working. However, I know how to work, but some tips and techniques will help. Thank you very much. Keep on the good work and keep improving. And I will give you my evaluation privately after the session. Have a great day.
Thank you. And finally, I would like to acknowledge my better half, Toastmaster Priscilla Dias, who's acting as the chat monitor and overseeing the whole chat room and the whole room itself.
We are 99. We are 99 now.
Amazing. I think some people will be disappointed that I am unable to join.
We are 100 now.
Wow.
We have to close this.
Yeah, please send them a notice as they are waiting so that they may at least join us from the live stream of YouTube. And as I said, she's my better half. I don't know how much better. Is it 51-49? We say, I believe in the Pareto principle of 80-20. So I believe she's 80 and I'm 20. So thank you for all of you all for making this happen. The first time I've seen a meeting scheduled, which is not a division level contest, hitting 100 and we are unable to get in more people. Let me briefly explain what we are going to learn today. So we have some learning objectives. And as you can see, I'm primarily going to focus on the branding part of Toastmasters because I see a lot of content being pushed on social media by clubs, by VPPR, but it doesn't meet that branding guidelines. It can be done with just, if you spend 1 hour today, I'm guaranteeing you that you will learn what is the branding guidelines you should know because they're very simple. Okay, so we will focus on the colors that we need to use, the logo, the font, and the images, and finally the Canva. So again, I'm using the Pareto principle. That is 20% of each, but 80% is dedicated to the branding, which is so important to us as Toastmasters. I know there are some who are not Toastmasters who have joined, but please, it is a good idea to understand how the brand works, how we should project a brand to the public. So I'll be focusing on all of these elements. But before I do that, I need some interaction from you all. So I have created some polls and I would like to get your feedback on what kind of audience do I have. First of all, let's talk about your experience in Canva. So I would like to see where do you stand? You're experts because some of you are experts, I'm sure, and just come here to understand how others actually are training. So I can see there are some experts, some reasonable experience, and there is a large number of people who have never used Canva, which is interesting. So you all are in the right place. And if you all have any questions, please put it in the chat so Priscilla can identify what is the severity of the problem, and she may interrupt me and say, Kaji, can you handle this thing before I progress? Okay, because I don't want to spend time unmuting people, and then it will take time away from the core objectives that I have in mind. And let me end the polling and share the results with you. So many of you have never used Canva, and hopefully I will introduce you to Canva, but more importantly, how to use Canva for a Toastmaster work. And the next thing I would like to understand is, what is your branding knowledge? What do you think you know about Toastmaster branding? Please share your inputs in terms of where do you think you stand. Do you know everything about branding? I want to understand that. And I don't see any experts in the branding category, but there are some who know a little bit about branding and some who don't know anything about branding. So again, you have come to the right place to understand branding guidelines. Great. I have a general idea. There is no need. Almost, wow, 82% have 87, 88% voted. Almost everyone is participating. Amazing. I'm very happy to see this. Let me share the results with you. And so most of you all know a little bit about branding, and this is the one which I'm going to focus on. Those who don't know enough about branding to make you all brand ambassadors of Toastmasters. And finally, I would like to ask you a question, and I know most of you might get it wrong, but please do try it. I am going to share with you 4 names of the fonts, and I want you to determine which one do you think is a font that is approved by Toastmasters International. So those who have some good knowledge of branding or little knowledge of branding, you could answer this question. Again, I'm getting amazing feedback from you all, which means you all are really keen to understand what branding is all about. And again, I will share the results with you. And please forgive me because there is no font called Smedley Sans Serif. It was just a trick question because I wanted you all to associate somehow Toastmasters with Smedley. And of course, you all thought that would be a valid font. There is no font called Smedley's. The font approved by Toastmasters for use among these 4 is Myriad Pro. So 29 of you all got it right, and that's great. Now, some of you all have joined me from directly using the link, but some of you have actually been part of a WhatsApp group that I've been running for the last 2 or 3 days. And I just wanted to share with you some of the work that you all have posted in this group. You all have made many posters and shared it here. And there was an objective why I made this, made you all do this thing, to understand what kind of branding awareness is there in the community. And let me tell you, I have gone through all of these posters. If I was to, this was my branding glasses, and I was to look at it from an auditor's point of view, are people meeting brand guidelines? And I was told by Toastmasters, score them from 0 to 100. I can tell you that around 80% of these posters would get somewhere between 20 to 30% as a grade, including my wife, Priscilla. Maybe I will give her 50 or 60 because I'm partial to her. But no single poster in this actually meets the brand guidelines. And my idea is to sort of, within this next 1 hour, give you that enough knowledge that you will go back to this work that you have posted and tell me, post the comments in the group saying my poster was not meeting the brand guidelines because of 1, 2, 3, 4. And then post the one which you have corrected with all the knowledge that you got from my session today. Okay. So as I said, my first thing was to start with colors. And let's start with colors because that's where most of us sort of get attracted to putting whatever colors we want in our posters, in our material. And that sort of violates the branding guidelines. And I will try to explain to you how that works. But when you talk about colors in Toastmasters, I think that this whole color system of Toastmasters was created by men and not by women. And let me explain to you why I believe that. So, as brand creators, what we need to do is we need to go to Toastmaster website, okay? And we are all familiar with it, at least those who are Toastmasters here, who are the majority. And if you click on the resources section, you will find that we have something called the brand portal. And this is where we get most of the information. And what I'm going to do is, we are going to focus today on the brand manuals. And in fact, there are 3 brand manuals for us. They all contain more or less the same information, but they have different objectives. The main brand manual is here. It's quite a lengthy document, and there's an abridged document over here, okay, which is the same but a shortened version of it if you don't want to go to the whole brand manual. And then there is something called the visual brand guidelines, and this is meant for you to visually see what a branded Toastmaster document should look like. A branded Toastmaster poster, for example, should look like. And I will start with that first, because most of the elements of colors, logo, and fonts are defined in the visual brand guidelines. So when I look at the visual brand guidelines, a main color, it starts with color. And as you can see, the entire brand of Toastmasters is made up of just 5 colors. And that's why I said this brand or this color palette must have been chosen by men, because if I was to show you an example of how men and women look at colors, I love this, poster where men look at all similar colors as just one. So for me, all of these colors are purple. But look at how women look at it. They look at it as maroon and plum and eggplant. They have all these fancy names. So Toastmasters has only 5 colors. So it goes to say that they must have been made by men. Having said that, what are these 5 colors? And as brand creators, we must be very precise with this, because it's not blue, it's not maroon, it is a specific mathematical color. And we need to understand how to interpret this color and how to use it in our documents. So in short, any content that you create, any poster that you create must not contain any color other than these 5 colors. Surprised? I hope you are, because when I see your posters, I see all kinds of colors and gradients, and so we need to focus on these 5 colors. Of course, there are 2 additional colors which are not mentioned in the palette, but by default they assume to be there, because that's the nature of color system. We have the black on the extreme end and white on the other end. So you will notice that all these colors have codes, but the white is not having a code and the black is not having a code, but they exist as colors. In the Toastmaster brand palette, you can use black, because you can see here when the Pantone here, it is written in a black color. You see, even the color is gray, but the text that is written on it is black. So black exists as a color in our system, but its use is limited. It can't be used as a background color, for example, but it can be used for fonts, and we will go into that. So 5 main colors and 2 primary colors, which are the extreme end, that is the black and white. And these colors are not, as I said, just any color. It's a specific color. So you cannot just select something that looks like, let me show you an example. You cannot say, oh, this looks like the color that is or something like this. Let me look at the colors here. Let's say yellow. I want to choose the yellow. So you will choose maybe something like this, and you may think this is a yellow color, which I can use in Toastmaster material. You can use it in your normal posters, but not in Toastmaster branding material. For Toastmasters, you need that specific color. So since there are only 5 colors, what are they? So we have the first color, which is A9B2B1. Remember this code, I'll explain what that code means. And so this color, if I take this and I put it here, dark gray, but it's not just any dark gray, it's a specific code. And you can see here it has something called RGB, which means red, green, and blue combination. And as children, when we were learning about how to mix colors, I'm sure you know that if you mix this color and that color, you get another color. So what it means is if you mix red, green, and blue in this percentage, not percentage, in this values, 169, 178, 177, which again, if you go to our Toastmaster branding manual, you'll find them here. Red 169, green 178, blue 177. So whatever system you use, when you're selecting the color, you must use this exact number, not something else that looks like it, but this exact number. Then we know it's a branded color. And since there are only 5 colors, I have a very simple trick for you. What I would suggest is that you'll have a small paper like this, okay, where you write this codes, because it's easier to write this code, by the way, because here you have to remember 3 numbers. You have to write just one code, and they all mean the same thing. Okay, so 5 colors are there. Make a small sheet like this, maybe like a business card, laminate it, write down these codes, keep it with you, and you have the power of the branding of Toastmasters in your hand now. You will not deviate from these colors. That is amazing. Or take it, put it, stick it to your next to your laptop or your computer, and you have the reference of those colors all the time instead of opening this document every time. What is this hex, by the way? It means it's a hexadecimal, and only those who come from the computer background might understand a numbering system called hexadecimal. It has a base of 16. So this combinations can be numbers 1 to 9 and letters up to A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah, up to F. It's a very easy way of remembering numbers. So just A, B, B2, B1, this is the code we can use. This one, and so forth. And of course, as I said, the white and black also have a color code. If I was to type here the hexadecimal 000000, that's absolute black. It means the red is 0, the green is 0, black is 0. It's absence of color. And if I use FF, that's the absolute white. 255, 255, 255, all mixed together gives you the this color white. Okay. So very simple. Just note down this 5 colors, and you are good to go as far as branding is concerned on colors. And since we are talking really branding, I would like to spend some time, 1-2 minutes explaining what this means also. CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is actually black. I don't know why they don't use B, but it means cyan, magenta, yellow, black. And this is the coloring system used for printing purpose. And the RGB system is used as a system for projecting on your TV, on your phone. So your phone panel uses RGB system, but your printer uses CMYK system. And that's why if you open your printer, if you have an inkjet printer, and if you open the cartridges, you'll see them marked as yellow, you'll see them marked as magenta, you'll see them marked as cyan. You'll never find red, green, blue cartridges when you go to the shop for the printer. So CYMK for printing, RGB is for your display purpose, and hex is just a shortened version of this numerical value which we call the hexadecimal, they all mean the same thing. So if I was to take this hex number F2, DF and 74 and paste it in my coloring system here, it is jasmine. Oh, only a jasmine. Wow. And you can see that the RGB is 15, 45 to 47. If I go to Toastmasters, you'll find it. 1 minute. Did I copy it wrong? F2, DF74. What went wrong? Let me just check this number. Something is wrong in this value. 065101. No, there is a small difference here. I will check why this is giving me a different code here, but this is for the color red 0, green 65 and blue 101. Okay, so these are the colors that we need to use in our system when we are creating the branding guidelines. Before I move on to the logo, if there are any questions, Priscilla, that I need to address.
There is a question from Alma from Mexico. Would like to know what software is Mr. Barretto using for having a picture in picture.
Okay,
Would you take this? It's not related to Canva,
yeah.
but I've asked for the email ID, so you can reply to the email ID.
Yes, I will. Maybe in the networking session, I can explain how it is done. Otherwise, we will go away from our topic. And so let me now move on to the second part, which is, so before I move to the second part, I will just show you now, if we were using Canva, and if I was to create a new design, which is, let's say, an Instagram post. So this is how it will look like, the white, right? So if I want to have one of the colors of as a background, I would click on this button here, which is the background color, and let me type here, rather than trying to figure out, is one of these colors somewhat similar to Toastmaster branding? I don't want to waste my time. I will say, I have my beautiful thing, and I want it, let's say, the blue one. So I know it is 004165. Bang. I will get my color, and I have my background exactly as required by Toastmaster International. And the beauty of this is, if you type this code and somebody says, oh, your color is not as per brand guidelines, you can say, no, it is hex 004165. And if the person says, what is hex 004165? Your answer should be, it means I'm right and you have not, either your screen or your printer is not printing it correctly, because you have entered the mathematical value of how that color should be represented. Okay, so this is how it will look in Canva when you select it. If I wanted it to be, let's say, the maroon one, I would simply type 772432. Bang, I have my exact Toastmaster branded color. So knowing these 5 codes, if you are doing a lot of material, within a few days, these codes will be burned in your mind. You will be creating them just like this. Now let's move on to logos. So I go back to my Toastmaster brand manual, which is and we talk about logos. And before I talk about logos, I missed out a small item that I talked about the colors, but not the color of the font, you see, because the reason why this is written in black is to actually tell you that if you have created a background of yellow, please use black as a color when you're writing something on it. And the reason for that is because black and this color, they have done a lot of research, contrasts properly. You can read properly. But if you were to write on this area in white, it would not contrast properly. So as you can see, if you are using any of the colors of the system, when they are light, you will use the black as the text color. When they are dark, you will use white as the text color. Make sense? So black and white is your text color when you are writing on the palette of Toastmasters. But sometimes you will write on the white palette also, because sometimes we print on a white paper. And this gives you an idea of how you should write on a white palette. You notice that they're not using black, but they are using all of the palettes, the palette colors to write on the white. So you could write, for example, using the blue, the maroon, the gray, the red, you can see. So those colors from the palette only are being used for the text also. So not only are we using the main 5 colors and the 2 primary colors of black and white, but on the writing, the font itself also, we have to restrict ourselves to these colors. So if you are writing on the palette, use black or white. But if you are writing on the white palette, which you might do a lot of times, then use one of those palette colors, which is this 5 colors. Very simple to 5 and the 2 primary colors. Don't deviate from it. That is the way you will convey the picture of Toastmaster brand material. And then we come to the logo. It's very important. You can't play around with the logo, because the logo conveys certain emotion, certain expectation. So there are very strict guidelines on how we can use a logo. So you have all these various versions. Get them from the resources of Toastmasters, okay? That means whenever you want to get the logo, go to the resources section of the brand, and you have this.
Thank you for visiting the logos.
So logos and design elements, all of them are available. You should use from here. Download all the elements that you need from here and then use them. Okay, so we have colored versions, you have black and white, you have grayscale. Any of these logos can be used from the reference. Okay, and it is very important that you leave enough space around the logo so it doesn't interfere with anything. Don't push things next to the logo. There should be clear space, all clear space and minimum size. Ensure that a logo is clearly visible for print and web scenarios. Okay, so even the dimensions are given, but the more important thing is for us to create this kind of element. So let me go back to my Canva design that I just created, and where is my Instagram post? What happened to my... okay, it was in the other screen. Okay, so this was the thing. Now, if I was to drop the logo, and I will maybe later on in the Canva section explain how the logo, and if I was to print it here, now I can see if I was to use this element, I shouldn't be using the same background because my word mark is not visible. So let me change this to 04165. See how easy it is? I just type the numbers. I don't play around with anything. I just change the background, right? Even this is not contrasting, but you see, it's so easy to change background, change elements. And what I mean to say is, if I was to put some other picture there, if I wanted to show, let's say, a photo, okay? I just want to give an example, which means this photo should not touch the logo. It should be away from it. Okay, should give enough space for the logo to breathe and to be clear. Don't keep it here or don't keep it here. Keep it away from the logo give enough space to make it different from the logo. Okay, so that's about the logo elements. And the other things are the do's, don'ts of the logo, like don't change any element, don't make it, for example, again going back here, don't try to rotate the logo, not allowed. It has to be as it is shown to you. Okay, don't stretch it or don't put any other colors. Maintain the sanctity of the logo as it is. When it comes to logo elements, there are just the plain logos. And of course, as you might know, there are also logos with what we call lockups. That means logo and the tagline where leaders are made, for example, which is here, this one. And this has to be, when we talk about lockups, that means the where leaders are made and the logo, they form a single entity. You cannot write your own way of where leaders are made. It has to be this image. Okay, you can't use some font and put where leaders are made under the logo. You have to use the entire element as it is. Okay, so there are different ways of representing Toastmasters. You can display this one where leaders are made with Toastmasters. Again, you have to use this whole element as it is. It's a lockup. It's created by the designers and we have to use it as it is. Okay, so any of these elements we can use. And we have also something called callouts, which are used to highlight something. So we can use this particular lockouts as next to our, when we are writing, which means if I was to show you, let me put this back. Let me see if I have any lockups loaded with me. Yeah, I have a lockup here. So I can use this lockup. Sorry. To highlight something, to mention some element. What happened to this? Oh, yeah, something like this. To highlight certain text, we have to use this particular triangles from the resources site, not anything that we want, but you have to use this lockups, and there are instructions on how to use this lockups. Right, so coming to the logo part of it, get the logo from the resources available on Toastmasters, use it as it is in the different configurations that are available. Okay, there are just logos, there are this word marks which are without the logo, you can use them, but if you want to use them together, then you have to use the right combination. And these are the callouts. And how do we use the callouts? So if you want to say something where leaders are made and you want to highlight this callout to this Jane Doe, so you would match the color of the callout, which is here, with the name here, Jane Doe. So you know that you are referring to Jane Doe in this case.
Hello.
Yes.
We could not see Jane Doe. If you could just move the screen up so that we could see what you were referring to.
Yes, so this is, now you should be able to see it. Okay. Correct?
Where is Jane Doe? Okay, it's not very.
Right, so it's here in this case. So only that call out is sort of triangle, and the name and the same color is here. So we link it together as a single element. So we know that we are referring to Jane Doe. So that covers about logo. Be aware of the elements of the logo which are available to you. Use them as it is. Don't try to play around with them. Don't make any changes to the logo. Okay. And the third element is the fonts. Again, they must have been created by men because you are allowed to use only 4 fonts. Just 4. And this is, we have the Gotham font. We have the ITC Lubalin font. Then we have the Myriad Pro, which I had asked you in the beginning. And we have Arial. So only 4 fonts. That means when you start typing in Canva, Have you ever seen any of these fonts in Canva? Unfortunately, I haven't seen them. So if I was to type something here, this is my Canva, and I want to type some text. Let's say, I want to say Kuwait challenges. And I know this is wrong. I can't use this font as if I want it to be branded poster. I know that this font, which is Open Sans Serif, is not in this list. I have only Gotham, I have ITC, I have Myriad Pro, I have Arial. But when I go to Canva and I try to see, is this font available? Let's search for Gotham. There is no Gotham font. Is Lubel in there? There is no Lubelin. What about Myriad Pro, the most famous font of Toastmasters? No, these fonts are not there. Which means any poster you make in Canva can never be 100% brand compliant. And that's the reality of branding in Toastmasters. You could, of course, go for the pro version of Canva and try to upload the fonts. By the way, just to keep it not complicated, I am using the free version of Canva because most of us will not be willing to pay $10 per month for a license of Canva. So if you had the pro version, you could possibly download your own fonts in Canva and use them. But are the fonts free? That's a big question. The main fonts used by Toastmasters are not free. In fact, just look at this, this small text, which says the Myriad family of fonts, which we are recommended to use, really we can't use it because the whole font set is something like $900. And as Toastmasters, a non-profit organization, are we willing to pay $900 for fonts when there are hundreds of other fonts available? No, obviously not. So it goes without saying that no content that we create will ever be 100% brand compatible. The only one who can make 100% brand compatible is World Headquarters. I'm sure even District has not purchased the real fonts that are used by Toastmasters. So what do we use? We use, first of all, if I am using Canva, the best I can do is find a font that looks like Myriad Pro and use it. And then I will be maybe around 90-95% compatible. So if I was to use a font like, let's say I select this text and I want to change the font to, let's say, yeah, this Montserrat looks like Myriad Pro. It's not really Myriad Pro, but I could sort of get away with it by using this font.
Hello.
And yeah.
Can you please zoom into the font? No,
okay.
on the screen. Yeah, there, yes.
So let me search for Monte. One minute. You mean here, right?
Scroll down so we can see it in that list.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, that.
So
yeah.
you can see that these are these fonts which are available. Okay, and I could maybe use one of this. And as I said, these are not branded fonts, but since we don't have any other option, we will try to use something close to it. Okay, so no poster that you make in Canva would ever be 100% brand compatible. But we can reach above 90% if you use the right fonts. And so that means as I said, we have 4 fonts to worry about. One is Gotham, one is Lubalin, Myriad Pro. And the fourth is actually, you either use Myriad Pro or use Arial, because Arial is more common, but the real font of Toastmasters is Myriad Pro. The Arial is what we say is alternative of Myriad Pro. So if you are creating a document in Word, for example, Microsoft Word has Arial. So you could use Arial in your Microsoft Word documents. Maybe when you are making the minutes of the meeting or the agenda, you could use Arial because you won't have Myriad Pro anyway. And the Lubalin is actually Times New Roman. Times New Roman is one of the fonts that you can use. And Gotham is something close to, I would say, Calibri maybe. So you have to find something which is close to it and stick to that. That means you have to have one main font which can be used for your headings. This font, the Lubalin, is only used, and I hope you can see it here. I will highlight this text for you.
Please highlight it and zoom in so we can see it.
So I will show you how it looks. Okay, I'm trying to, show it to you here. And the Lubalin should be reserved for taglines and boxes. So that means if you have some tagline where leaders are made, so that would be the font that you use for your Lubalin. But otherwise, your whole body of your text should be based on, Myriad Pro. Okay. If you don't have Myriad Pro, use Arial. If you don't have either of them, try to find something which is close to it. And the only thing I would like to highlight to you between the Lubalin and these other fonts is, we call these fonts sans serif. A serif is, if you see the Lubalin, it has a small kind of accents next to the end of each letter. You will find the small accents. So those are called serif fonts. But to make reading clean and modern looking, Toastmasters recommends using fonts for your body as sans serif. That's why when I went to this have no serifs. There are no accents. But let me show you a font with serifs. So I will create another text box. Let's say subheading. And I want to say, and I want to use a serif font for this. Okay. So if you look at the list here, as I scroll through them, you can see that this Courier Prime is a serif font. So the unfortunate thing about Canva is it doesn't have Arial.
Can you zoom on when you're scrolling? It's not very clear.
Yeah, I don't see how I can scroll the left side. I can only scroll the right side. Okay. But what I'll do is I will change the font so you all can see how it looks on the right side. Okay. Let me make it a little bigger. Yeah. So this is now without serifs. Let me choose a font for this section, which is a serif font. And I would just scroll to one which maybe you can't see properly, but I will find, let's say, it's not Times New Roman. This is actually Canva's own version of Times New Roman. It's called Time New. Let me see, what is it called? It's called Time New Roman. So they have not named it exactly the same, but it will be a clone. It will be almost the same. So this is, you can use it for Lubalin equivalent. Okay, so this is the font we can use. So try in Canva to find those 4 fonts that you can use in your poster and stick to those 4 font. So I would say, if I was to give you this thing, for Gotham, stick to this open sans serif, the standard one in Canva. Use the Time New Roman for your Lubelin equivalent, and for the rest, for the body of your language, which you want to write, use not this one. For this section, which you are explaining about the whole thing, stick to Montserrat. That is Montserrat, maybe the light one. So you can see this font, Montserrat, is the one you should use as the equivalent of Myriad Pro.
Can you zoom out this thing so that we can see it all together as one?
Okay. Sorry, 100%. Let's make it fit. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the, let me look at this font, which is your main open sans serif for your headings, the Times New Roman for your, what I should say, taglines, and the main body stick to the different sizes of Montserrat. Okay, so Montserrat, Times New Roman, open sans serif. You could, of course, go through all the fonts that are available in Canva, try to find which are close to it, and you might be able to, as long as they look similar, you should be fine. But my recommendations would be something like this for your fonts. Okay. And finally, we talk about images. And I want to spend a little time, another 5-10 minutes before I open the questions and go to Canva to actually demonstrate all of this, is related to our images. Now, when we create posters, we have this tendency to, let me open the brand manual for you, because this manual explains about also the images, what images we can use. It's quite a lengthy manual, but I'll just highlight one small segment from this. So these colors are again repeated here, the same things, 5 colors, the brand, the logo elements, and how it should be used. So this is a more detailed version of the visual brand guidelines. And now we talk about images. What kind of images we should use in our posters? And many times we see people posting images like this, for example. And you might make a poster which says, do you want to overcome conflict in your organization? Join Toastmasters, learn leadership skills. And you will put an image like this in your poster. Now, what you are associating is a negativity rather than the positivity of it, which means when you put your Toastmaster logo and an image which shows conflict, you are actually trying to associate conflict with Toastmasters, even though your final message might explain that if you join Toastmasters, you would be able to overcome this. But from a visual perspective, we are defeating a thing of encouragement, supportive environment, and all this type of things by putting a negative reference which we are trying to solve. So how would I change this? Instead of sending this message to my poster, I could, for example, look at the positive side of similar images, which would be, maybe I would search for team building. And instead of saying team building, let's say at work, absolutely, yeah. So here we can say, this is a positive image, because it might have been conflict in the beginning, but the outcome is this, for example, everyone cheering and being happy. We want to associate with our Toastmaster, I'm saying as if it's my own logo, but with our logo, this positive image, the final outcome, rather than the previous position that you think you are at, convey what you will end up at. Rather than showing, for example, let's say fear of public speaking, we try to attract people by saying, are you afraid of public speaking? And we put this in our image, in our poster. Now we are associating again Toastmasters with people who are afraid of speaking. No. Instead of that, search for an image which says confident, let's say, public speaking or something like that. And there you get confident people. Now associate with our logo this image, not the negative image, but the positive image. I hope that makes sense to you. Because too often we find people posting images of the negative part of it and trying to tell the audience that if you join Toastmasters, you'll overcome it. No. Think of the outcome. What would be the outcome of this joining Toastmaster, and find the outcome images and link them to the Toastmaster logo. So we have covered the colors, just 5. The logo, there's only one place you can bring the logos from. Fonts, there are only 4, but as we know, we can't use all of the original fonts that are, because they are licensed, and try to find fonts which are equivalent. There are also some websites where you can download a free fonts. Like if you say, I can show you, download Myriad Pro. And you will find that there is a free Myriad Pro font. You can download it and you could use it not in Canva, but if you are using Word or any other Windows software, you could use that font. But remember, it's equivalent. It's not the same font. It would not have the same elements of the original Myriad Pro, which is licensed. This is just for your information. And finally, when you talk about images, we must be very clear about the type of images that we convey, and it is very clearly mentioned here. Use images of people that that look engaged, approachable, empowered. Okay, so that's the way you should. Don't show images that are the negative side of this, which you would solve by joining Toastmasters, but the outcome of it. And so you should then display only include images which are of club meetings, presentation of speakers, networking, conference, training, something like that, where people are confidently demonstrating their skills. Associate those images with Toastmaster brand. What you should not use is animals. There should be no animals in your branding, no landscapes, no photos of Kuwait City, for example, would be like that. No children, food, medicine, cartoons, architecture, and other images in there. So these are the things we should avoid in our design elements. Okay. And again, the source, you can always go to Toastmasters website and go to the resource section, and you have in the brand portal professional images. Okay, you are free to use this images. If you click on it, okay, so there are all this set of images available for clubs, people looking confident, people empowered. So you can use this freely. All images available on Toastmaster website are for you as Toastmaster member or a club to use, and feel free to use them.
Please zoom in this.
Zoom out or zoom in? I can't seem to do more than this. Okay, so yeah, that's like this. These are the type of images, and these are all freely available on Toastmaster website. Okay. confident speakers, empowered people. These are the images to be used. Don't use, as I said, animals, landscapes, food, all these things are not allowed. Not allowed. Yes. Now, the question I want to answer, even before you can ask me, is can I just go to Google and find images that are similar? Like, can I use this image that you see here of this woman speaking? The answer is no, you can't use these images because these images are copyright protected. So when you're creating content, stay away from copyrighted material. And most of us are so used to just going to Google, searching for something, downloading the image. But if you really look about it, these images by themselves are not for you to use. They are copyright protected. And if you have to use them, you have to either pay for them, okay, or not use them. And if you really want to use images outside of the Toastmaster website that is available freely for you, I recommend not to use Google, but there are two resources I would like to share. Please note them down. One is called Flickr, flickr.com, flickr.com. And here we can find a lot of images that are free to use. And in fact, I would like to showcase myself in this case because I have a lot of images available. Okay, this is all my portfolio. Of course, most of this you can't use for Toastmaster branding, but when you search for something in Flickr, the interesting thing is it will show you whether the image can be used for your personal use. Okay, so this image can be used for personal, and you can see, I don't know whether you can see the dollar sign next to it. Yes. So if there is a dollar sign next to it, so it means it can't be used for commercial use. People cannot take this image and make money out of it, but they can be used for personal use. So you can find images from Flickr that are safe to use for your personal use. Also, there is a site called Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a site for free images. So if you search for some content and say meeting, and you search for it, you'll find these images are free to use. You can see here the symbol which says that it is free to use. It can't be used for commercial purpose. Dollar sign is off. So this is the way you need to look at images. Don't use Google as your source because most of them are copyrighted images. Go to either Toastmasters or some of these websites that are giving you images for free to use for personal use. So we have covered colors. We have covered the logo. We have covered the fonts, and we have covered the images. These are the elements that combine and give us the actual content. So before I move on to Canva to show you how we can use all of these four elements effectively and make not 100%, I can't make 100% branded poster, but we will go for 90%. A very simple poster in 5-10 minutes, and then you can, but before I do that, I want to know if there are any questions related to all of these four elements that I have talked about. Chat monitor, do I have a permission to move ahead, or?
There are some questions. Do you want to take them now or later?
Yeah, let's take them. Let's take a break, kind of 5 minutes, and because yeah, then 20 minutes I can finish the Canva.
Okay, questions from Toastmaster Gayatri. Is there any specific color site? I think she needs to refer to. Hello?
Yeah, for color site, the only thing you need is this, Gayatri. Just this 5 numbers, nothing more.
Toastmaster Virmit's question is, will I get this color in all as in for poster presentation or only Instagram? This question came up when you were showing how to use the colors. So her question is whether wherever she posts this particular poster, will it be the same color, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram?
As long as you created your content in either Canva, you could have created it in, by the way, in PowerPoint or in Word, whatever document. If you had typed this codes that you that I have listed the 5 codes plus the black and white. If you have typed those codes,
Okay,
you don't have to
open the
worry.
door. Your food. Okay, tell auntie then.
Okay, so okay, let's move on then. I can come to any additional questions at the end because I want to show these 4 elements in a poster creation, very simple, and then you can then ask me how, whether this would be okay, that would be okay. So we will now go to Canva and demonstrate this in Canva itself. So let me go home. Now, many of you all have never used Canva. So as Hanan said, let's do it slowly. Let's do as though you have never used Canva, and those who are experts, just give us that flexibility so that others can catch up. So Canva is a free website for making posters. That's the thing. It's called CANVA, canva.com. So you go to www.canva.com. You don't need any app to download. You don't need anything. It can be used on your laptop. They have an app also on your mobiles for both iPhones as well as Android. Canva app. You can download it. And you have to create an account in Canva. And the simplest way to create an account is just to use your Facebook login and create an account. And once you create an account, you will get a simple screen like this, that is create a design. Of course, there are a lot of templates that you can use, but the problem with the templates, and I will show you, if you click on the templates, you have all these templates available where you can just click on it and it will create the poster for you, and then you make some minor changes to that poster and publish it. For Toastmaster, none of these are branded guidelines. It doesn't follow any of the brand guidelines. So in my opinion, the fastest way to make a TI Toastmaster branded poster is to start from scratch. And then as you create one poster, what you will have is you'll end up with creating posters like this. Okay. And then after that, it's a matter of reusing what you have already created. So if I want to make another poster which is similar to this, I could simply say make a copy and start with a new poster. But let us start from the scratch. As I said, we go to Canva, we log into the site, our name should come here once we log in, and I say create a design. Let's create from scratch in 5 minutes a 95% compatible Toastmaster branded design. So when you create a design, you can define what kind of poster that you want. Is it for Instagram? Is it for postcards? Is it Facebook? The idea is to define how it should look. Is it square as in as a Instagram post, or is it you want it different dimensions? You can have your custom dimension, but let's go for Instagram posts because this is the most common format used in showcasing Toastmaster material. So I create a toast and it is square shape. As you can see, it's a square shape. And on the left hand side, I have different elements that I can use. I can use photos, I can use elements, I can use text, I can use music. I'm not going to cover music or videos, but what I'm going to cover is basically elements, photos, text, because text is fonts, okay? Photos is your images, and of course the colors I will directly define. So let's say I want to start with let's start with a blue or maroon. Let's go for, let's go for dark gray. The dark gray is when I click on this and I click here to choose the color, the background of this image. I click this and I can type, because again, I don't have to search. I know I have it in my list here. I will just type A9, B2, B1. I'm done. 1 second, my background is defined. It's TI branded, no questions asked. Nobody can question me. This is right or this is wrong. I know it is 100% right. I'm done. Then I want to put the logo. Okay, let's put the Toastmaster logo here. And ideally, you would have the logo already with you. downloaded, but I'm going to show you as we are going baby steps. I'm going to now put a logo here which I directly download from Toastmasters and put it here. Okay, so let's go to Toastmaster brand manual. So branding resources, which is our brand portal, again, which we started with. And we have the logos. So I will choose the color logo, this one, okay? And I can see there is JPG and PNG. What's the difference between it? Let's forget about EPS for the time being. Let's focus on this too. The JPG is a logo with a white background, okay? And the PNG is a logo without a background. And let's download both of them and see what's the difference. So I will take this image and I will save it on my desktop. Let's say I'll say color logo JPG, and let me also download the second image, which is PNG. The same thing, but one is having a black background, but it's not really black, it's actually transparent. So PNG. So I have two images now with me, two logos I have downloaded from Toastmasters. Let me go to Canva. And I have my background, which I have created with just one branded color, which is A9B2B1. I'm becoming very familiar with that color now. I don't have to remember, I just type it. And I will go here. You might not have difficulties to see it, but I have an option here called uploads. Okay, and here I get an option to say upload an image or video. So I will upload these two logos that I have just downloaded. One is JPG, so it comes here, and I'll upload the second logo also, which is the PNG one. And let's see what is the difference we get in these two logos. So let's put the JPG first. You see, it is coming with the white background as it is, as you saw it. But if I put the PNG, this is a layered one. It has a transparent background. So you have a choice. I love transparent backgrounds because I can drop it on my form. And notice I'm not twisting it. I'm making it bigger or smaller, but I'm keeping the dimensions exactly as they are. In fact, in Canva, it's impossible to change the dimensions of this, but if you are doing it in another tool like Word or something, it can get squashed, and then that's not allowed. You have to maintain the dimensions of the what did I do? Let me try again. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay, I know what happened. Yeah. So something like that. Yeah, so I can drop this anywhere and make sure that it is purely visible. And I have still now I am 100% brand compliant because I have a background which is a mathematical number. I have a logo which I have downloaded from Toastmaster website. So nobody can question me that this is not in brand compliance. Okay. Now, the moment I start putting text, I am going a little out of compliance, but let's do it. So let's click on this text option, and I have an option to type different types. They have all these fancy things, but in Toastmasters, avoid anything fancy. Just use the top text, okay? And we'll say this is Kuwait Challenges. I use Kuwait Challenges because that's my home club, and I like to promote it. It's too big, so let's change the size of the font to, let's say, 32. Let's make it like this. And I'm okay to use black here because if I went to my brand guidelines, you might remember that on a gray, the recommended font was to use black. If I was to use white, that would be not such a good idea. You see, it doesn't contrast well. It's hard to read. So you should never put text which is hard to read, even though if you like the color. So try to use the contrasting text, which is, in my case, it should be black. Or I can be more creative. Instead of choosing black from here, I could be so smart that I put the code 00000, that's the black, right? And that's my color, maybe little bigger in size. Yeah, okay. So again, I'm making sure that it is away from the logo and there is enough breathing space for the logo itself. And this is my text, and I'm fine with the open sans serif because we agreed that open sans serif is a replacement for Gotham, the main font. Then I will say, let's add some subheading. Join us for our next meeting on whatever. So this is a text which I have to use, not open sans serif, because I have to use the Myriad Pro equivalent. So we have agreed that we will, for this, go for the Serrat, and this will be a font for the body of the text. It's too small. Let's say 28. Went too small. Okay, so this is so far. Then I want to put an image. So far I have covered the color palette, I have covered the logo, I have covered the font. Now I need an image. So again, the best source for me is a Toastmaster website where I can go to the resources and go to the brand portal and pick up one of these fancy images that they have for me free to use. Why should I not use it? Let me use them. Okay, so I will choose galleries. Where are my galleries? Okay, public, 3 collections. So I will go for the one which looks nice to me. Maybe I will pick up this image and say this one. And okay, where is it? 1 minute. Okay, there is a download button here, as I can see. So I will click download here, and that image will be downloaded for me. I have different options. I want the big file because it's a high resolution images. If you don't have a good internet connection, maybe you don't want, I want a small medium size only. Why download the big file? And I will download it on my PC. And the file is downloaded. Let me take this file, which I have just downloaded, and go to Canva and upload that image. Just like how I had uploaded the 2 logos, I will upload the image, which is now this picture. And I will put it here. After it is uploaded, I'll bring it here. And any other content that I want to put, I will use the same. I can say copy and paste it, and say Zoom meeting. Okay, Zoom meeting ID 200120. Let's say something like this. Now, as far as branding is concerned, this is 95% brand compatible, because other than the logo, which I had to use an equivalent logo, which is similar, all the other elements are as per Toastmaster guidelines. Okay, so the mindset that we should approach is not to come to Canva first and start trying to put things and see what is right, what is wrong. No, first understand those 4 principles of Toastmaster branding: the color palette, just 5, the logo, use from the website, fonts, agree on what are the 4 fonts that you will use in your in your documentation, in your flyers, whatever you're creating. And finally, the images. Be very careful about the images that you use. If you're using from the Toastmaster website, feel free to use whatever is available there. Or if you are using your own images that you shot with your mobile or something, they should represent that same thing: empowered, positivity, energy, and those kind of elements. Nothing about negativity, fear. Those should be not part of your branding, publishing. Okay? And wow, you have your own poster. I'm sure you can create something like this once you have understood this. You have written down this color codes. You downloaded the material from Toastmasters. You can create completely brand compliant content just like that. Okay. So when you're creating Toastmaster brand content, don't try to be over creative, because that's not what Toastmasters wants to visualize. When you see this content, when you see a picture like this, you should be able to, oh, that's Toastmaster. It must be something Toastmaster, because I can see logo, I can see positivity, I can see all the elements which I'm used to everywhere I go across the world. We should follow the same guidelines. So you see it, you know it's Toastmasters. So with that, I have completed the core of my training in terms of understanding branding and putting it in practice. Of course, if anybody wants me to try something and show them something, I'm now open for questions, and our chat monitor will either tell me what the question is or unmute you so that you can speak for yourself. And I'm almost 90 minutes as per my plan, but I'm free now. To those who want to learn more are free to continue, but I will shut down my live stream because I don't want, so I will end my stream. And wow, I have so many people commenting, and wow, I'm amazed. I'm happy. Thank you so much for your